Hey, I'm Jamey from Stonemaier Games, and today I'm going to talk about my favorite mechanism in the game HerStory from a company. Underdog Games. That's the company. I had the pleasure of learning this game from the designer and playing it at Geekway with 4 other players, and we had a lot of fun with it. It reminded me a lot of Splendor, but leveled up. The cards had a little bit more meat to them, a few more decisions than you have in Splendor, but the decisions were just as streamlined. On your turn, you were either taking a tile, kind of a resource tile, you are reserving a card to ideally play it later if you can pay the cost, or you're playing a card from your reserved section or the card row and putting it into your card row. And like Splendor, some of the cards give you resources, ongoing resources that you can spend from then on, but this is where it levels up a little bit. Some of them give you ongoing points benefits. Like this one says, if you're in last, gain 6 points for completing a chapter needing at least 3 magnifying glasses. And each of these women in the game represent a chapter in a book about amazing women from around the world and from history. And so this card right here needs 3 magnifying glasses. So I was kind of waiting to be in last place in terms of scoring before playing this character, Elizabeth Freeman, so I could get extra points. And it was actually interesting to see that in the game, that a number of cards in the game want you to be in a certain position on the scoring track, leading to a diversity of strategies, really. Like there are cards that are worth fewer points during the game, but worth more points at the end of the game. So I should have done a better job. I didn't do well in the game, but I should have done a better job at going after some of those cards and getting fewer points so that I could take advantage of cards like Yuri Kochiyama. So that's one element I like. I don't think I've ever had a game incentivize me so much to lag behind a little bit at certain times, or really throughout the game, to score extra points. I thought that was clever. And it's also a built-in catch-up mechanism, which I think is really clever. One little touch, tiny little touch in the game, but I thought it was really, really nice, is that when you reserve a card, oftentimes in games like this where you are reserving a card or tile, it feels a little bit like a wasted turn. Splendor gets around this by giving you a golden tile when you do that, a wild resource, but only a single resource. In this game, you get points. You get 2 points whenever you reserve a card. So during the game, it doesn't feel like a wasted turn. If there's a card that you really want to get that works well for your engine, you can reserve it and you still get 2 points for that turn. And also at the end of the game, when maybe the end game has been triggered, you have nothing else to do, or you're close to that point in the game, you could just reserve a card and get some points. That's nice too. I thought that was a nice way of lots of things in this game address 2 different issues with the same streamlined solution, which I think is great. Also, one last thing that you can't really see in this photo here, but each player has a library card. And twice over the course of the game, you can use that library card to refresh the token row. You can say, let's wipe all these tokens clean. I don't need any of those resources. Let's get a new batch of tokens out there. I like when games have refresh mechanisms like this, but I really like when there's limited opportunities to do so, when you can't do it too often, because if you're refreshing too often, then there might be players who are looking forward to, or it takes away some tension, because you're waiting for a certain token to remain available until it gets around to you. If you're refreshing too often, you lose that tension. So I really like this use of a library card, where the first time you refreshed, you flip over the card. The second time, you discard the card completely. So you have 2 refreshes over the course of the game. And also, I really like that there's no punishment for doing so. A lot of games will say, okay, if you haven't refreshed by the end of the game, then you gain 2 extra points. And so it really feels like a loss when you refresh. In this game, it doesn't. It just feels like something that you can do twice in the game to help your strategy move forward. 3 mechanisms that I really like in this game. HerStory, I'd highly recommend it. And I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you play the game, or if you play games like this that use similar mechanisms, I'd love to hear about them in the comments below as well. Again, thank you to Danielle, the designer, for teaching the game to us. And yeah, let me know your thoughts.